Hey, y'all. Welcome back to episode 10 of season 2 of Man in the Musings podcast. Tonight, we are, have our two old buddies from college to grace us tonight. We have Vince and we also have Steve. Vince is the assistant general manager at Kannapolis Cannon Ballers. And then Steve is closer to Kevin and I up there in Hartford, Connecticut as the director of ticket sales for those Hartford Yard Goats that everyone seems to know about these days. So guys, say hi, introduce yourselves, and we'll kind of kick it off.
Go ahead, Vince. Why don't you start? Go ahead.
All right, no problem. Vince Marcucci, 2014 graduate of West Virginia University. Go Mountaineers. And current assistant general of the Kannapolis Cannon Ballers in Kannapolis, North Carolina.
And I'm Steve Mekkelsen, director of ticket sales at the Hartford Yard Goats, 2013 graduate. So I'm a little bit older than Vince, so I have seniority over him. Sport management major with the rest of these guys here. And cheers, beers, Mountaineers. Let's go.
Not older. I just think graduated a year sooner.
That's true. That is true. He was supposed to graduate with us.
Yeah,
Doc probably held him back.
It wasn't a victory lap. I took a year off.
I took a victory lap because I was supposed to graduate with Kevin, and because of transferring, I had to take like English 101 my final year. I'm going, you guys didn't tell me this like when I transferred that I had to take this. That'd been great.
And that's like one of the worst classes to like have to take your final year because that class is just all papers, and I would have just.
Well, at that point, we had all been used to writing papers for doc. So writing a paper for an English teacher was the easiest thing in the world.
Well, you're over there. They're making you take English 101 in your senior year, telling you that's what you need to graduate. I'm over here taking scuba class to get my credits because I wanted to learn how to scuba. 2, it sounded easy, which it wasn't. And 3, I just wanted to have the title Scuba Steve. So you're over there writing 6-page papers, and I'm just in there trying to learn how to hold my breath underwater.
Hey, I hear you because my final semester, I didn't have enough credits to be an actual student there. So they're like, you need to go figure out something else to do. So I was like, all right, cool. I had an internship that covered 2 credits. And then my last 2 credits, I took a credit to learn how to play beginner badminton. And I had played beginner basketball over at the rec center for my second half of the year. I was like, this is perfect.
I wish I got to go and do one of the sport classes and just play basketball the whole time. That'd been fantastic.
I took billiards and frisbee, so I'm right there with you. That West Virginia education.
We're all having fun. Merritt's over there pounding away an 8-page essay on American Renaissance.
It's okay. I got 3 years of playing basketball against the girls, so I'll take that. All right. Well, as you can see, all of us know each other very well. There will be a lot of cracking of jokes, a lot of reminiscing of college days for sure. But we're going to jump right into that weekly sports update. Start off with probably the saddest note of the week. And I know Kevin doesn't like when I start off with sad notes, but kind of was the biggest thing.
Always does this, guys. It like we had a first 3 months of us doing this. We had to talk about somebody died, and I'm like, guys, can we be a little happier?
What? I can't.
But this is actually, serious. This is very, very important news. Merritt, please continue.
So the man that was known as a pirate or the creator of the air raid for college football, Mike Leach, passed away. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago from a heart condition at the age of 61? Extremely sad for anyone that knows college football, and his coaching tree is a phenomenal coaching tree from what I saw. And also the cool part about all this is his team is still going to play in their bowl game for him. So that is pretty awesome. And they just named their new head coach today. The defensive coordinator is now becoming the head coach. So
shout out to him. All the prayers go out to Mississippi State because, that's hard time to lose it. Lose someone during the holidays, and all know how everybody loved Mike Leach because he was certainly a character. So we'll see how they do at the bowl game, and I'm sure we'll be keeping everybody updated with that.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Leach, when I think of college football, he's when you're talking about coaches, I think of Nick Saban and all the greats, Kirby Smart, and then I think of Mike Leach too. And towards the end of his career there, his shortened career, unfortunately, I'm actually going to take something out of his playbook. And I don't know if you saw recently the video of him taking the chairs on the sidelines and folding them up. That might be I take with some of our sales reps. If they're not making their numbers, I might start folding up their chairs and throwing them to the side. So it's just his determination, his drive. That's he's going to be remembered greatly, and he's going to be a big loss to the college football world.
100%. So on to happier news, Kevin, you shared this with me yesterday. The NBA has renamed 5 trophies so far. We already renamed the Bill Russell trophy and all that for the NBA Finals MVP. The regular MVP, Michael Jordan trophy now. This thing is ridiculous. It's 23.6 inches tall. The basketball has 23 corners on it. 5. The numbers are ridiculous. It's awesome. Wilt Chamberlain is the rookie of the year. Akeem Olajuwon is defensive player of the year. George Mikan is the most improved, and then 6th man of the year is John Havlicek, which is fantastic. And then another one I saw today is like clutch shot, and it's a Jerry West award, I think is what
it's the clutch award, and they put Jerry West as his nickname with his clutch jumper. So the guy in the middle of the statue is of like a Jerry West's shooting form.
Do you think they could have found somebody else since he's already the logo?
I mean,
I would have gone Reggie Miller. That was clutch. Ray Allen.
He didn't win a ring though. Well, Ray Allen did, but I think Jerry West, he's a big part of the league. I think, monumental for his play with the Lakers. I'm sure they wanted to give him some sort of nod because, I mean, they've been pretty much renaming all of the different trophies. Like the All-Star game is now after Kobe. The NBA Finals is after Bill Russell. So, I think this is a nice little touch to just remix the awards for they have been. So, like, my favorite one is I like George Mikan's because they actually have the guy doing the, like, Mikan drill inside the trophy, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think that was a really fun thing to see them do, and all of the ridiculous details for Michael, the MVP trophy, where it's like, I think the base is like 6-sided because of his 6 rings. Then it's like 23 point something for the average of when he won his first MVP. I was trying to find it, but
it's 5. It's a 5 corner. It's a pentagon base.
Yeah.
So it's the 5 times he won the award. And then the plaque itself is 6-sided for the amount of times he won the NBA champion. And then everything else, and it weighs 23 pounds for his number. Everything emulates Michael Jordan in that trophy. So I really, really hope that Jason Tatum gets that and brings that home for the first time ever. Be great this year. So we'll see.
Joel Embiid's got that locked up. He got it stolen last year.
Joel Embiid ain't going to do shit.
I mean, I don't know, man.
I love Joel Embiid, but
he might make a case for himself this year. So
I agree. Though.
I think in the running it's Embiid. It would be, I want to say, Tatum. Those are the probably top 2, and then I feel like you can always kind of throw Giannis in there just because he has the Bucks on lock and he's the reason they go. So they hand those out too.
They keep saying that Luka and Tatum are 1 and 2, depending on the day. And then Embiid's like 3. And then Giannis is like 5 or 6 because he's won it twice. And everyone's like, well, he has to do something more than what he's done. So.
Gotta love it.
Did you guys see this one about Texas basketball? I'm just going to ask the question first off. Steve did. All right.
Yeah, I've seen it. You talking about you talking about the coach?
Yeah. The man was arrested at 4:00 in the morning on Monday for assault and battery to it's a family member or someone within his home. Apparently it was his fiance, and yeah, he strangled her, bit her, did a bunch of all these things. I guess he got really upset about something, and this is a felony case now in the state of Texas, and it holds a minimum of 10 years in prison. Yeah.
Yeah, you never like to see the words domestic violence
No.
At all in the news, and you do not want that tag to your name. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what Texas does with that, because how is he new? Is he newer?
This is
It's like his third year.
his second year there. No, it's his
Oh,
second.
okay, second.
It's his second year there, and there's also a player on the team that has a domestic assault charge against him as well. Like, it's not a good look already that way, and the kid's been playing before until his court date, which I think was today or tomorrow. So not the greatest look. He's on administrative leave, no pay at all until this is resolved. I don't think he'll be coaching at Texas, no matter what the outcome is. If he's found guilty or not guilty, I don't think he's coaching at Texas.
No,
or coaching.
this is one of those things where it comes back to the leadership. Like, if the coach is not held accountable for what he did, the players see that, and then it emulates onto the players. It's just not a good look for the organization. It's not good for the NCAA, and it's not good for the whole team in general.
No, not a good thing at all. Thank God our basketball coach is a phenomenal human being that would never do anything horrible besides make somebody run on a treadmill. Treadmill mentality, boys. That's what we got. Kevin, I want you to talk about this one, because you love these two athletes, and their sons are phenomenal athletes, so you could talk about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a couple of days ago. Was it yesterday?
It was
yesterday.
2 days ago.
2 days ago, Monday. They play. So shout out to ESPN2 for always documenting all of the high school basketball at 11:30 in the evening. Goodness gracious, that's so late. I could barely stay up and watch all of it. But
you watched it?
I caught some snippet of it. But as I was saying, yeah, it's late because it's all the way in California. But you had, for the first time, playing against each other, Bronny James and Sierra Canyon from California versus Kyan Anthony, the son of Carmelo Anthony, from Christ the King High School in New York City. So they played against each other, and coincidentally, that is 2 days apart from when LeBron's debut to the world was, all the way back when, in I want to say 2002. Yeah. So I believe, because that at that time that was LeBron and Vincent St. Mary versus Oak Hill and Carmelo, and then it's literally become full circle, and their kids are on the verge of playing professional basketball, possibly at least definitely Division High 1. Maybe, hopefully. Merritt, did you hear me? My question?
No, because everything just froze on my end.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I figured, because your face just had a crazy look on it. So that's all good. But so if you can hear me now, is Bryce a sophomore or is he a junior right now?
Bryce, I think, is a sophomore. Bronny is a senior.
Yes, and Kyan Anthony is also a sophomore in high school right now.
Yeah.
So, I don't have the stat line in front of me, but it was a star-studded house where they had the Kardashians there. You had both Carmelo and LeBron in attendance. You had a couple of Lakers that were Sierra Canyon alum there, like Scottie Pippen and Scottie Pippen Jr. So, I'm very interested to see how their journeys translate and how it plays out. Where is Bronny going? Is he just going to go to the G League? Is he going to go to an actual college, unlike his dad? Where Kyan Anthony's game's going to go because he's only a sophomore. But definitely super interesting to think about because we grew up seeing LeBron as that young high schooler, and now he's a freaking dad with watching his son play. It's crazy.
Yeah. Plus, Kyan Anthony works out with a guy here in New York City with the name of Chris Brickley. So I think he's going to do pretty good moving forward with everything. So that was fun. Thank you for that update, Kevin, because I honestly just knew that they were playing and that was about it. I knew you'd know more.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
So let's talk about our favorite school.
I think Merritt's frozen again. This is actually funny because normally it's me.
I can't tell if he's frozen or if that's how his face always looks.
Thank you. You guys are so kind to me.
I mean, that was a great smile to get frozen on. There's been bad frozen faces. That was not one.
Woo! Well, just check out the picture that Kevin posts on on Instagram, and it's always a shitty picture. Oh no.
Yours is pretty bad. Everybody else's looks pretty good.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You do this to me all the time. So let's talk about our favorite school. Our football program is getting decimated. Oh my God. You guys need to stop doing this to me. I can see you all moving and I can't tell if I'm actually speaking.
Well, you literally, it took you like 5 syllables to say favorite team, and it was incredible. That's why all of us were laughing right now.
We all knew what
even that was slow.
Yeah, we all knew what you were trying to say, and it was funny to watch you try to say it.
It's like Billy Madison when we're all watching just today.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna yell at my wife to get off the internet.
Don't do that. I'm not trying to get you in trouble, sir.
I don't really care. Whatever. I'll deal with it later.
So when can we send Neil Brown to the moon? That's the real question.
I don't know, but how are we going to make sure Prather comes back somehow from the transfer portal?
All right. So with that, you said it last week. You were like, I'm hoping Prather doesn't end up on this transfer list. And I'm like, well, nice of you to say that because I wasn't going to mention it. And look what happened. Thank you. I am transferring into the transfer portal. Dang.
And the worst part is Pitt's number 1 on his list, apparently. Yeah.
Oh, no. I did not know that.
Yep.
That's depressing.
That is depressing. Well,
that is extremely depressing.
I guess I'm just going to have to be a Colorado fan because I would have taken anything over Neil Brown, including, if you want a good time at West Virginia, I would have gone prime time.
Dude, who are we going to get? Rich Rod?
Please, no.
Oh, right. I wanted to see all of everybody's expressions as soon as I said that name.
Oh.
God, it's like, so it's funny. I listen to like some of those like West Virginia sports podcasts all the time, and they all talk about like, do we really? One of their questions was, do we really want Rich Rod? And I want to say is, no. I think what we want is that system that made us very happy when he was coaching. We want that back. That awesome spread where you had guys like Pat White or like crushing offenses left and right. It was exciting to watch as a fan. It was exciting to see in person. So I think that's what everybody thinks of Rich Rod. I think that's what they're talking about. But like, I don't know if I would actually really want him back after the way he did us. And he hasn't been, it's not like he's technically won ever since he's left us. I mean, Michigan, not great. Arizona, he got them to prominence for like a year or two and then pretty much crumbled. So like I'll pass on Rich Rod respectfully.
I feel like he's a name that anytime we go through this coaching carousel and we're looking at new coaches, when we got Dana Holgerson, then we went to Neil Brown. I feel like that name always just finds its way back into the conversation, whether or not there's anything behind it. That name is always just put in there because that's who West Virginia fans know. And then they remember how good we are when he was here. But they don't really think back to how he left us. So,
yeah. Because I think like he's a Morgantown guy. He went to WVU, he graduated WVU. It's like all the story is just sounds nice, but at the same time,
give me a guy need a proven track record, get the transfer portal going. Because honestly, if we fire Neil Brown, all the players are moving on. Actually, I think half of them will be happy because we've seen how he's recruited early on and then continued to have a coaching carousel, or not a coaching carousel, but a player carousel. If the top elite players that are coming to West Virginia are gone a year or two later, give me Pat McAfee as West Virginia's next coach. You want an NIL deal legend?
Oh my God.
Give me that guy.
Can you imagine?
That'd be great.
Campus, we thought that campus burned down when we were there. Can you imagine if Pat McAfee is running that and he is just leading our players out of that tunnel
Owen Schmidt, offensive coordinator. I mean, give it to me. The runaway beer truck.
Is he gonna smack his head on his helmet every play, like on a kid's helmet then? Like,
yeah, why not? Baker Mayfield does it every week in the NFL, and he's making millions of dollars. I think their head coach can do the same thing. He'll put the head in head coach.
Vince had that written down somewhere. He
did.
Down, ready to go. No
way.
It's on a sticky.
I'm proud of myself for it, but I wish I wrote that down.
Don't worry, it'll be on the podcast forever now. It'll always be there.
Good.
That'll be Instagrammable. Part of my clips right there.
Oh man. Well, at least the basketball team's doing pretty well. Only 2 losses. I'll take that.
I'll take the loss to Purdue too, seeing where Purdue is this year. That we played them tough. What do we have? 2 losses?
Yep.
And one's Purdue, and Purdue's what right now? Up in the top.
One.
They're 1, yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, that's our one loss to them, and we played them tough. And then we had that one other loss, which was unfortunate, but I think we look great.
Yeah, Neil Brown, again, I mean, if you can't tell my opinion on him, he needs to call Bob Huggins, learn how to beat Pitt by 20, and then, West Virginia be on his side. Because they're down hard and your running back's crushing the game on their 40 to win the game. I mean, Bobby Huggins knows how to beat Pitt by 20 this season. We clearly saw that.
You made a hell of a point there.
Yep.
Hell of a point there.
Yep, I can understand that one.
If we beat Pitt in football to start our season, I think the season would have gone a completely different direction, and the fan base at no point in the first 5 to 6 weeks would have ever called for Neil Brown's head. There's one game, like the backyard brawl coming back into existence. You have to win that game. I'm sorry, but if he loses in Morgantown to Pitt next year, I don't care how new our athletic director is, he's done. He's got to be done. If we get trashed in Morgantown next year, that's the end of Neil Brown. It has to be.
Well, I will be trashed in Morgantown at that game. And if we lose, I might throw a Pitt fan over the stadium. I don't know what I'll do.
If we lose to Pitt in Morgantown, I'm going to write a stern letter to the dean asking for a check with my tuition payment that I paid that university back in my pocket.
I like that idea. I'm
just throwing it out there. The amount of people that complain about it, I get donation requests all the time from West Virginia University. If you fire Neil Brown and you need help paying a $16 million exit fee, I will personally write you a check, and I believe 100,000 other alumni will do the exact same thing.
You know what, Vince? Now that you mention it, every time I get one of those donation things, when it says leave a comment amount, I might just put X and then in the comment, fire Neil Brown, and then I will donate.
Yeah.
I'm jumping on this bandwagon 100%.
Like, God, this is great.
I mean,
I
like,
mean-
there's one person that West Virginia can come around right now in sports as like a universal hate. He's taken on the Rich Rod persona when he bailed. I don't want Rich Rod back, but shoo, Neil Brown.
Hey, if you need somebody to lead up the fight, I'll start the witch hunt against him. I'm not afraid to start that up.
I'm pretty sure my last tweet, because I haven't been that active on Twitter, is sending Neil Brown to the moon.
Oh my gosh. It's like, I will definitely say if we get trounced, I'm just picture this right now. Say, does Merritt say Caden Prather's his number one choice is Pitt? He goes to Pitt and we get trounced by Caden Prather by him scoring a bunch of touchdowns in Morgantown. I'm gonna first off, I'm gonna run to the top of that stadium. I'm gonna jump off because I'll just die because that would happen. And then two, I think the blue lot would first light on fire, and then that fire would again seep towards spots in town, and we would burn the entire town of Morgantown would burn to the ground because
The blue lot would turn to the red lot very, very quick in terms of a massive fire.
Yes.
And don't forget, if there are Pitt fans in Morgantown, they would have to run real fast.
Oh man.
Hey, but don't forget, the hills have eyes.
Thank God that was made in Arizona. Oh my God. It's the wrong turn. Remember, don't take the wrong turn.
Oh, my bad.
That's the West Virginia one. Yeah, but that's true.
What about Deliverance? Where was Deliverance set?
That was West Virginia.
That was West Virginia.
Oh,
yeah, because
man.
that's what all of my family, when I first started thinking about going to West Virginia, was like, Kevin, just watch Deliverance before you go. I'm like,
yeah, my mom says, you want a banjo before you go there? And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Thanks. Yeah, you ever see Deliverance? Yep.
To clarify, West Virginia is almost heaven. It's one of the most beautiful states in the entire country. I do not want this Neil Brown hate parade to continue to the state. I made the joke, but the state itself, love it, love the people. Not Neil Brown.
Yep. I think we're all in the boat.
Yeah,
Oh, all right. Well, let's stop bashing on West Virginia football at this point. Kevin, just start it off in the next segment here. I gotta take a second.
all right. Well, first it's our normal hat segment. While Merritt is getting himself together, I will go ahead and let everybody know I'm not wearing a jersey today because I was late to the podcast.
Per usual.
It took me forever to get my computer turned back on. And then I couldn't find a jersey. So I wore the best thing that I could. I wore my Derek Jeter retirement t-shirt, the Yanks out here, in honor of our guys talking some baseball. So that's what I got. Merritt, you look like the little alien from Toy Story.
I was that for Halloween. First off, I wore that for Halloween. I had like a ski hat and the shirt, but this is from Aruba. When I was down there in August, I was like, oh, look, a winter hat. And my wife's like, why are you buying this? I was like, it's a winter hat from Aruba. Who's going to believe me? So it's the Flying Fish Bones. And like, it's a restaurant you can sit in the water while you're eating. So if you ever go to Aruba, I highly recommend just expect to open up your checkbook or your pocketbook or your wallet. Pretty big. So yeah.
Now very interesting question. Eating food in water. We have been taught our whole lives to not eat and go swimming. So like, how is that dynamic? Because I just feel like
in a chair. It just like,
but still
the water comes up to your ankles.
So what? Like, what if you fall in?
Listen, Kevin, if you had to ask me for my ideal dinner, you give me a hot tub and then a pizza in the hot tub and maybe a 6-pack. That's a night, baby. That's a night.
I mean, the real question is, did they bring you the check 30 minutes later?
No, they brought it to my mother-in-law. Thank God. I was like, no, I can't pay for that meal.
And then Kevin, going back to what you said about how Merritt looks like the alien from Toy Story, with his earphone, with his headset, it looks like the Claw. So it all comes together. We got Toy Story 5 going on right now.
Oh my God, I love it. This is great.
Maybe instead of going to baseball, I should have just gone with stand-up. That would have been great.
Oh, man.
Could have.
I mean, you still could do it. Like, just go to they do have the comedy shows where they're like, hey, can I get a set for like 10 minutes? Boom.
Oh. Yeah, it'd be good. Be good.
That's awesome.
My God. All right. So fantasy football. Anyone's playing that these days?
Right here, buddy.
I'm in a few. I'm actually the Yard Goat champion from last year. I got a nice little trophy in my office. But yeah, no, a few this year. I'm in probably so I'm in 6 leagues.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so I have a lot of players going against each other most of the time. But it's different friend groups. So I have like one with work. I got one with my buddies from home. I have one with my fraternity brothers back from college. Couple hometown boys that I'm in a league with. I think I'm in half of the playoffs right now, and I can't keep any of my teams straight. If I win one, it'll make up for all of them. But it's mainly just being a part of it and interacting with everybody and keeping in touch with everybody too.
I thought 3 was a lot. You just made me feel like 3's nothing.
Yeah, literally.
Especially when everybody's using different apps. I got 2 in ESPN. I got 4 in Yahoo. I don't know what's what. I'm picking up players in one league, and I think it's in another league. It's awful. I got 6 kickers on one team by accident because I thought I was in a different league, and I'm mixing them up. So,
wait, how did you do that and not notice that? Why do I have 5 kickers already? This is a different team.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Jalen Hurts as a Philadelphia fan. Absolutely dominating my work league.
Oh, that's good.
I joined a 3rd league, and I said I wouldn't do it ever again. I normally try to stick to 2, but joined the 3rd league in the playoffs on all 3, 2 of which first place buys. 1 pays out a winner for finishing first overall in the regular season, which I love. So already have made my money back. But Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Miles Sanders combo in my work league I have 500 more points than the next closest team behind me.
Oh, you're winning out here, sir.
So I just want to throw a thank you to the Kannapolis Cannon Ballers for not knowing how to draft a fantasy football league. The fact that I have Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Austin Eckler at running back, Josh Jacobs, Jason Kelsey, AJ Brown, Miles Sanders in my flex. Debo is my flex against Miles Sanders.
Well, he's broken again, so can't.
He's broken again. Yeah, but you know what? Thank you, Cannonballers, faithful. Love y'all. The only thing is that the Eagles keep winning, and my entire team is their prolific offense. So if they do not need to play in Week 17, I am in trouble.
You're in trouble. You better send Jalen Hurts that edible arrangements real quick right now for what he did.
Yeah.
That is not the league that pays you out for finishing in first place. So that's the scary part.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like the respect and the idea of I'm going to win. So yeah, you might want to just do something for Jalen and Miles and AJ, all those guys. They're carrying.
As an Eagles fan, I mean, watching them walk in MetLife, Kev, what I'm talking about. Watching them walk into MetLife and absolutely manhandle the Giants last week was just a privilege.
I know, I had to work the regular job that day, so I was not in the building for that. My goodness, I had a lot of my team that was there, and boy, it was a doozy. Not fun to be a Giants fan this past weekend because, oh my Lord. And add in the fact that the weather was absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
Yes. So my fantasy team. So right now, I officially made 2 of my playoffs. I am out of the playoffs in my 3rd league, which is very sad. It's the league that Merritt and Leland helped me draft. So sad face.
Well, no one knew Russell Wilson would suck.
Yeah, Russell Wilson. Yeah, he rode himself into the ground and me into 9 of the playoffs. So thank you, Russell. But right now, I'm hopeful for the playoffs. I think I can win one of them. I just need some small things to go my way. I know there's one team that has like Jalen Hurts and Justin Jefferson on it. So like when those two go off, like that team is completely unstoppable. But I've been decimated by injuries. One of my teams, I had Cooper Cup go down, but I still have Jamar Chase. I still got Adam Thielen, and I still have Marquise Brown. Brown was on the so you might be in a little bit of trouble because with Kyler out, but fingers crossed. I think I can at least get to win this round. Who knows if I get to the third place game, but we're just gonna play it out week by week, and hopefully Lady Luck is on my side. The other league teams, I probably could get decimated in like the second round, but we'll see how it goes. That one was completely for fun, and I remember I drafted it like on my phone, and I lost service like 3 times, so I ended up picking like 2 people on the same exact team, and I somehow still made it to the playoffs. So, but we'll see how it goes.
I could tell you who's doing well for me, but I basically have the entire NFL on all of my teams to go across them. So I'm just going to say good job to everybody, and I'm glad everybody's having fun playing the sport of football in the NFL.
Yes. Well, I'm playing my wife in the one playoff berth that I got out of the 3 leagues I'm in.
You can't win that. You cannot beat her.
Is it bad that I'm projected to win by 15 points already and I blew her out last week? I'm not throwing that. Fuck that. This was for money, bro. I ain't throwing nothing.
The repeat of the last week of the regular season is always a doozy.
Yeah. Especially when my team for a while had Kyler Murray, and then I benched him for 2 weeks, and then he destroyed his knee. So Kirk Cousins it is, or Geno Smith, whoever I throw in there.
Oh, my letter.
I also have Mike White, just because Mike White is a badass.
I also have Mike White on one of my playoff contending teams as well. Hopefully his ribs are doing better.
The dude
I lost Kyler in the only league I don't have a buy-in. Kyler was my back. So Mike White for the win this week in fantasy football.
Let's go, Mike White.
Mike White, Mike White,
Oh my God. Zach Wilson's number 2 now. So if Mike White breaks another rib, Wilson will go back in for maybe a play or 2. And then Mike White will be like, no, this is my job. Take him off the field. All right. We got through all the fun stuff. Now let's dive into all the talk of baseball and some West Virginia talk. That's not sports related. We could potentially be sports related, but we've asked every single person that, graduated with us or graduated from West Virginia, especially through sport management, the best doc story you got. It can be anything, because I don't think he listens to this. So go right ahead.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like we should totally ask if he'd be interested.
I know. I should.
I spoke to one of his classes before.
We did too.
It's great catching up with him. Yeah.
He loves it.
Have all of us spoken docs class?
I've not.
You didn't get to?
Really?
We'll still. I've connected with Doc a couple times after graduation, but apparently I'm just not worthy of speaking in his class.
Well, just post a picture with a beard, and he'll tell you to shave every time.
I can't do that, my friend. That's one category I cannot do.
Every time I post a picture, it's always look great, shave. What the fuck?
Steve, I'll defer to you on the doc memory.
Yeah. So I was trying to think of a good one to think of when thinking of doc, because there's so many great stories, but there's 2 specific memories that I have with Doc and his class, and both have to actually do with the presentation that I had to give in one of his classes. Because as all of you know, and to the listeners of the podcast here, West Virginia has a very small sports management program. Not many people get into the program, so everybody that gets in essentially to graduate has to go through Doc, has to go through his class. And Doc either loves you, or he's going to make fun of you, and hate you the entire time. Luckily for me, Doc was a fan of me, and I think it was because of my presentations. The two presentations I'm thinking of is one was when we had to put together a program and pitch it out as a youth skills camp. And we did a Kick It with Kids day camp where I dressed up as the, I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Heavyweights, but I was basically essentially Ben Stiller's character in Heavyweights, and I did a bunch of dances around. I interacted with students around campus dressed as Ben Stiller's character. Doc got a good laugh out of that. And I think the bigger one was in my senior presentation with him. We had to put together a business model, business plan, something that we would think would be successful in that day and age. Me as a young male in college, I decided to open up a yoga company, a Yola Yoga Pants company. So they were yoga pants. When I told him that I was going to go around and interview about the quality of yoga pants and the best, Doc's jaw dropped to the ground in the front of the class, just bewildered by, is this kid actually going to do a presentation on yoga pants? And I got an A. So I can't complain. We still talk about it. He tells me tell the yoga pants company story to all of his classes. And I think I did YOLO at the time because that was a big word back then with the kids. I don't think I've said the word since college.
Well, now you just did. How do you feel?
Oh my,
Yeah, 31 years old.
Oh my God.
That again.
Dropping YOLO, the YOLO yoga class.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's incredible. I love it.
Oh,
And
that's
I
a good
do,
one.
and I would buy them because I do yoga now. So I'm all about it.
And I really think I have the presentation still saved somewhere of YOLO yoga. Yep.
Oh yeah. I definitely have my presentation somewhere.
Yeah, I have it.
Oh man. All right. So Vince, do you have any?
So I have two ends of the spectrum.
Oh boy.
I took a year off to work. And when I came back, that's when I had Doc after the fact. And he's like, oh, you're the kid that dropped out of school and worked a full season of baseball already. And I was like, oh yeah, it's me. I'm the one that caused a ton of problems in our major because I dropped out mid-year to pursue a full season opportunity with the Blue Rocks. So when I came back, he really never gave me a hard time. He's like, you got real world experience, never had an issue with me referencing what I had already done with the team, like working full time in my projects, which I watched him give other people a hard time when they wanted to apply to their high school. So I always appreciated that. However, like I said, I started a year sooner because I took that year off. And I don't remember if you guys were with us, but did either of you go to Philly on our sports management trip? Or was your first trip in New York when we went to St. John's?
We went to New York.
I went to St. John's. That was was my senior year.
Yeah, so we all had that awesome trip to MetLife. The year before that, though, was my first year in the program, and we went to Philly. We visited Drexel. The best Doc story that not many people know is that a student in the program was arrested, and Doc had to bail him out. So it was a kid, grew up in West Virginia, told us on the tour bus to Philly when we were going to take a trip that he had never been out of the state of West Virginia.
Oh no.
and the seniors went out drinking the one night, and you know, he stayed out. He's like, oh, this big city, this is awesome. Being in Philly, and we were staying at the Hyatt Hotel. Well, he bar toured his way around Philadelphia that when he got in a cab and said, take me to the Hyatt, he was closer to a different Hyatt hotel, and had a drunken misconduct in the wrong Hyatt hotel because he went to the 17th floor knocked on his room number and thought that the guys that he was with just wouldn't let him in the room.
Oh no.
So the best thing I've ever seen, Rashad, if you listen to this, the president of the sports management club.
Oh, I love Rashad. Good man.
He picked up the phone mid-conference at Drexel, and I just remember his very brisk walk to Doc and the two of them walking out of the room because we were like, where is this guy at in the morning when we went to go to the conference? And then needless to say, he did not come back with us on the bus, and I never saw him in another class. But that is my out of the state of West Virginia story about Dr. that he had to deal with a student that was never seen again.
Wow.
That was like the biggest one we've ever had.
Yeah, because you know what it is because I mean, I'm not gonna, no offense to anybody previous to us, like I never truthfully interacted with any of those graduating seniors beforehand. Like the people that I got close with was my year, and I got to know people that were after me because we all had classes together. But like you went on so that was probably me and my junior year, and that was your freshman year. Yeah. So like I had no interaction with that senior class. So the fact that like when we don't know what anything else happened, because I've always thought our New York trip was like the end all be all, and then I'd hear about like the indie trips and all that. But
oh god,
wow.
those
Yeah,
were
Vince, what you're saying, Vince, is that essentially Doc, if he ever wants to get into the bail bonds business, he'd be phenomenal.
Yeah,
I can't say that the student got out. I don't know. Well, all I know is he wasn't on the bus back to West Virginia with us. No, he all got figured out. It just was a very misfortunate misunderstanding.
Wow.
You know, I was doing an internship my freshman year, and I went to our major, and I just was like, hey, we have an intro to sports management or intro to sports internship course. Can I take it in advance of this internship? I've already been hired. I want to know what I'm getting myself into. Like, I want to be the best that I can be. And the next thing I knew, like, I was allowed to go on that trip to Philadelphia as a freshman when everyone else were juniors and seniors. And what an experience, to say the least.
The only thing that would have made that story better is if it was one of you bailing Doc out of the local there in Philadelphia. Can you imagine him behind bars in Philly?
Dude, he would be teaching everybody.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I personally, I love Doc. I've never really had a bad experience. I personally, like, I enjoy it. I think that he teaches from the real world. As hard as he is on some people, and definitely has gotten a bad rap with other classmates and whatnot. Like Steve said, he either loves you or hates you. I think that he always had justification to disliking a student. There was never anything that he did. I always had I still do have a lot of respect for Dr. Jones.
Yeah. And he's one of the people that, you know, we're still talking to him, or we're still talking about him to this day. I mean, it's ironic that we have a female, our merchandise coordinator. She went to West Virginia. She had Doc, and it was her and I that were on his presentation to the class. And she loves Doc. Everybody, he's just had a lasting impression with everybody. I know that I've had a number of professors there, from Dr. Lee, Professor Bravo. If you remember his classes, but Doc's is one name that I think everybody remembers because of the way he taught, his mannerisms, but also his lasting impression with everybody.
Yeah, and as you grow in your career, I mean, the reality is, if you want to pull your phone out in a staff meeting, like, you should expect that your manager is going to call you out. And that's something that, like, our generation, as we were going through college, like, not all of us had iPhones when we got to West Virginia. That makes it sound old.
I had a Razor phone.
So. Yeah. I had the little orange flip phone that you typed in everything. That's what I had.
The envy.
But Doc was there for it. Like, you know, he realized what the real world was about. He called you out. Like, we all have progressed in our careers, you know, in similar situations of learning to be professional. And those people that just wanted to sit in class and be on their phone heard it from them the same way that any of us would hear it from our boss now, if we did the same thing in a meeting or whatever the case may be.
He was giving you a taste of the real world in the college setting is what he was doing.
Yeah, before you ever realized what that actual expectation was.
Oh, 100%. That man taught you the real world stuff that, no offense to Dr. Lee or Dr. Bravo, because they were phenomenal professors, but they did not teach the same way They did not take the real world experience that Doc had running his own organization and throwing it in your face when you're trying to create your own organization as a project and going, oh, okay, I'll figure this out. He brought you through it all. So those are great. I love that story events. I just remember going to New York with everybody and sitting on the bus after the first night being there, and Doc yelling at all of us, going, "Where are they?" And the 3 people showed up a little late to a bus because they decided, well, we were in Jamaica Plains or Jamaica, in New York,
Queens.
yeah, and they decided to go to Manhattan. That was a dumb idea, and they didn't get back to like 5 a.m. And Doc's yelling at all of us, and we see one of them get out of the cab, run behind Doc, run inside, and then come back into the bus. So, and I froze on everyone else's computer except for mine. This is fantastic.
Your look right now, amazing. It was. I should have took a picture of it.
I don't even want to. I literally saw it. I was like, and I froze. Great.
Andrew will show us when he makes the video. Shout out to producer Andrew.
Oh, great. All right, Kevin, you want to ask another question?
Of course, of course. So, let's see here. Sorry, I'm getting old. I can't see the screen. Okay. I'm going off the rails with this question, Merritt.
Oh, geez, you're going off the rails per usual.
Yes, that's what I do. So you guys both work for sports teams right now. Been working in the industry for a couple of years. Give me the first moment that you had that you're working in sports moment that you had that you're like, oh wow, I'm working in sports. Like Merritt talks about his time where he had to dress up as the Sun Devil. Like I had to talk about where I had to manually screw in seat cushions for Rutgers University and their football team. So what's one moment that you guys can think back to is like my welcome to sports moment?
Yeah. First thing that popped into my mind was in a baseball stadium when you are walking up the stairs, there's those yellow lines, those safety lines.
Mhm.
And I remember going around the stadium my first year and painting all of them. I would say that's it. But I think the bigger one was my first year working with another local team here in Connecticut that I actually internshipped with prior when I was in college. And the on-field host didn't show up that day. And I just stood up and I said, I'll be the on-field host. Next thing I knew, I was the on-field host for the remainder of the season. And I was not expecting that. That just showed me, hey, sports, it moves quick. We need to fill in gaps. We have a time schedule. The game's in about 2 hours. Figure things out, problem solve. So that was my welcome to sports moment.
That's a good one.
That is a really good one.
I do not want to be the on-field host ever again, though.
Why not? You have the personality for it. You'd be great.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Maybe in my retirement stage.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, very similar scenario to Merritt of like mascotting. I was joking about taking that intro to internship class at West Virginia, and it was funny. Like our professor, Dr. Livingston, always compared. He's like, if you work in baseball, he's like, you're gonna be a hot dog. You're gonna be a hot dog. You're gonna be a hot dog.
I remember this.
Yeah, day one.
Oh, yeah.
I remember like they reached out and they were like, hey, who wants to be Rocky? And like in my mind, being a guy from Philly, I'm like, Rocky Balboa. Like,
Oh no.
sure, like I'll do whatever you want. Little did I know that the Blue Rocks mascot was called Rocky Bluewinkle, and it was a giant blue moose. And then I showed up that day and I was like, yeah, I'll be Rocky, trying to, get after it. And they were like, actually, you're not going to be Rocky. We want to promote Dollar Dog Night. And they put me in a giant hot dog costume to pass out Dollar Dog Night flyers in downtown Wilmington, Delaware. And I will never forget it. Like, his name was Frank Footer. And I have a picture that is still like, I share it every year on LinkedIn when it pops up in my memories of like my first day ever in baseball. I was literally a hot dog. And I tell people that all the time. Like, I know we're going to touch on it, like what you need to do in the industry to make it. But it's just be a team player, do what the team asks. You accelerate your career by being that go-getter. It's not willing or afraid to do anything. But literally, first day ever, hot dog. So yeah, that was my I'm working in sports.
I don't think you can work for a minor league team without being a mascot at some point. I was the mascot at point, especially in 2016 when we didn't have a season. We played on the road. The only thing we really had to do was mascot appearances. We could not keep up with it without us all being it. So I have been a mascot plenty of times. I know Vince knows that feeling too.
Oh yeah, and I personally love it.
I
Especially now in my career, put me in that suit. I need to get behind my desk. I don't want to do corporate sales. I don't want to do ticket sales. Let me dress up in whatever you want me to dress up in. Specifically, when I came to Kannapolis and it was an alligator, I was like, let me be Tinny Gator. I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be the best mascot out here.
Frank Footer is a phenomenal name.
That is a
That's what I was saying.
Mascot.
So that mascot, they had a hot dog, a box of popcorn. Oh man, what was the other one? Oh, and a peanut. They bought those mascot suits. They were the original mascots of Yankee Stadium.
What?
Really?
Yeah. So it was a cool thing that Wilmington went out, and I guess they just were going for that nostalgic factor of you're so around the ballpark mascots your secondary mascots in addition to your primary. And it was the coolest thing that I look back on now being a baseball junkie and be like, wow, I wore the hot dog suit my first day ever in my career of baseball that was worn in the original Yankee Stadium as a suit.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The popcorn became SpongeBob while I was in Wilmington because all of the plastic kettle corn on the top broke. So they just used the box frame. Definitely would be a lawsuit from Nickelodeon if they still use that now.
When you said you got those mascot suits from the original Yankee Stadium, I was like, man, are those the same ones they had with Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth? And I was like, wait a second, they can't be that old.
They were old, but I don't know if they were that old.
Oh man, they probably didn't smell too good either. I'm gonna go with that.
Now you can't do anything to those suits other than spray Febreze.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah. Just put a little car freshener in front of your nose the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So let's keep going that way. So you guys, how did you get to the level you guys are at now? Vince being the assistant general manager, Steve being the director of ticket sales. How did you guys go from that bottom tier where Kevin and I started, and Kevin and I both were like, no, we're not doing this anymore. And we went a different direction in our careers. How did you guys make it from that point to this point?
Vince, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with the structure of minor league baseball business. I'm not a baseball guy at heart. I mean, I love the sport, but as a player, I can't tell the difference between a slider or a curveball when it's coming in at 85 miles an hour. So I knew I'd never be a GM or assistant general manager at a major league team. And it's so funny because you hear that every day when you're in the stadium from your season ticket holders. Oh, is your dream to be an assistant GM at a major league team? And the reality is yeah, we can definitely transition our skills, but it wouldn't be to the same role at a major league team. And I just, the grind, the community orientation to making a difference in your community is definitely what has been my focus. I take a lot of pride in what we did in Wilmington with our kids programs and my transition to Trenton and doing economic development and revitalizing all the little league fields in the city of Trenton before I moved on to Kannapolis. And Kannapolis, it's a crazy community that crazy is probably not the right word. It's such a tight knit community that has so much history in the mill. If you ask any of your grandparents about where they bought their towels, Cannon Mill was the world leader in textiles. In this community, when that mill shut down, it was the largest layoff in North Carolina history. And I think that a lot of my history and where I've gone through it is through turmoil. I've literally always told people that the number one thing that you want to accomplish is being that yes man early in your career. If you got to get in a if you have to make sales phone calls for tickets, if they tell you, we want to do a green initiative, please call every Parks and Rec department in the area, or a Boy Scout night or a Girl Scout night. Just do it. I mean, you're going to elevate your career by just being that team player, doing what's above and beyond. And, to be in Kannapolis, build a brand new stadium, and it be that cornerstone of economic development and driver. It's just kind of a testament to I'm willing to kind of do whatever it takes. Like I said, like I got to Kannapolis, and the first thing that I wanted to do was just show that the team was engaged and involved. And I still, even taking on assistant GM role, wanted to get in the mascot suit because I know how much of an impact that makes on your community. So yeah, my thing, a lot of words, said too much probably, but just do whatever it takes to get there, put in that grind, and eventually it'll pay off.
Yeah, so going along with what Vince said, and I'll get into it more, but I love the aspect of minor league baseball and how close not only is it with the community, but also with the front office in general. It's long hours, it's tough hours. We're out there in the weather helping with tarp. We don't have a tarp crew like the major leagues have. So it's basically one big family. I see my work and my coworkers more than I see my own family, just in season, especially when you have those 11, 12-hour days, especially with extra innings. So it is that close-knit feeling that I enjoy, and why I like working in minor league baseball. I didn't know when I was first trying to figure out what I want to do with sports. I knew that I loved baseball growing up. I wanted to get involved specifically in that realm in some capacity. It was really my junior year in college when we were required to find some sort of internship for graduation. Did I want to do an internship and waste my whole summer? No, but it was that internship that got me my first job right out of college. So there's a local minor league team. I grew up in Norwich, Connecticut, which is in southeastern part of Connecticut, right by the Mohegan Sun. For anybody that's familiar with the geographic location of Connecticut. Originally, they were called the Norwich Navigators. They became the Connecticut Defenders. At the time, it was the Connecticut Tigers. And when I was looking for an internship, it came to the point where I was actually behind the 8 ball, and it was due in a week. And I said, I need to find something close to home. Luckily, they were still accepting applications. So luckily enough, I got an internship with the Connecticut Tigers, did my whole thing there, learned all the different aspects. Something you learn in minor league baseball internships is you work in all the different departments. And Vince and I still do that to this day. You work in stadium operations, you work in groundskeeping, you work in retail, you work in sales, you work in sponsorship, all the different areas. So that gave me an idea of what I wanted to do. I just didn't know where in minor league baseball I fit best. Originally, I thought maybe stadium operations, but I wasn't too sure. Luckily for me, that same team, the Connecticut Tigers at the time, right now, they're actually the Norwich Sea Unicorns. They're unaffiliated, but they are still around at Dodd Stadium. They gave me an opportunity to be event promotions manager right out of college as my first job from that internship. So my main role in that was I was in charge of promotions, as well as my main reason of being there was actually putting together the 2013 All-Star game that they had there. So they had the low A All-Star game at Dodd Stadium. So I was in charge of putting that all together, helping with sponsorships, travel, everything that goes along with an All-Star game, which out of college, it was a huge undertaking, but it showed me how hard it is to get into sports. But that also showed me that I like doing sales in one way or another. So when the season came to an end, like all minor league teams, there's not a lot of big budgets out there, especially with low A baseball. So I knew that they weren't really looking to hire anybody on full time at the time. Luckily for me, there was a team right up the road, a AA team called the New Britain Rockcats, which when we moved to Hartford, we became the Hartford Yard Goats. But they had a position open in group sales and working with the All-Star game that was of interest to me. So I applied, got a job with the Rockcats, and my main position there was working with the Little Leagues and the Little League programs for fundraising. So I was in charge of all the groups of youth baseball, youth sports, youth softball, youth football, youth soccer, them doing fundraisers and coming out to the ballpark. When it came to the time that we found out that we were moving to Hartford and building a whole new ballpark there, starting a new identity as a new team, my role kind of shifted a little bit. So I became more involved with corporate sales and businesses. So you can imagine that the shift from working with youth sports teams and fundraisers to the new revenue generating of corporations. It was the same type of selling, but it was a new type of selling, and one that I really enjoyed more, and something that is part of my job today of working with larger scale clients and those client relationships. And that's one of my favorites, that is relationships and building those throughout the years, and not only benefiting us, but them as well, and their organizations and their initiatives. But getting with the Yard Goats and where I am now, it's progressed to, I still work in that higher corporate hospitality and season ticket base and sponsorship as well. But I also oversee now the ticket sales department. We have a larger base ticket sales team that sells those group sales, sells those fundraisers, sells those season tickets. So it's my job to make sure that not only do they hit their own individual goals that we set for them, but we hit our yearly goal as well. So that's a little background on me. I know that Vince and I probably rambled on a little bit, but working in baseball now for 10 years, we have a lot to talk about. So hopefully we can be beneficial to the listeners out there.
Yeah, man. Talk it up. Talk it up.
Hats off to you guys for doing that for 10 years plus at this point. Like, seriously,
Still
that's
hard,
awesome.
baby. Still pulling hard.
Love every second of it.
That's all that matters, right?
The older I get, the more I might slip a disc, but I'm still out there.
Nah,
That's the truth.
That's what health insurance for. No.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, you got one? You can go off the rail. Are you going off the rail? Or are you staying on the trail this time? What are you doing?
I went off the rails. I went off the rails once. I like this this next one that you have. Did you have anyone that helped you grow into the roles that you have now? Is there a specific, like, maybe mentor or person or coworker that you work with that was really beneficial to you in your journeys moving up the ladder?
Yeah, Steve, go ahead, take it away, man.
Yeah, so if it's okay, I don't just have one. I actually have a few, and they kind of show they show my progression through my career. So it's my first superior, Dave Skirmahorn, with the Connecticut Tigers. He gave me the opportunity to get into the position, but also showed me that even though you're young, you can move up within an organization fairly quick. He was basically in charge of community relations and promotions when I first got there. And within 2 or 3 years, he became the general manager of that team. So he showed me that even though you're young, you can move up within an organization fairly quick as long as you put that time and effort in. But moving on to the Yard Goats, there's 2 specific people that I think of when I think of who's influenced me in my role and got me to where I am today and had the biggest influence on me. And they're both Josh Montanari and Mike Amerson. And yes, I did ask for their permission to mention them in this, so there's no lawsuits or infringements or anything. I didn't tell them what I was going to say, but I told them I'd mention them. So Josh Montanari, he's the assistant GM of sales. And then Mike Amerson, I'm sure Vince knows maybe both those names. He probably knows Mike's name. Josh showed me coming into when we were the New Britain Rockcats. I had never really done sales besides maybe those little things with the Tigers and the All-Star game. But he showed me how to perfect my sales skill, how to take on ownership in terms of different programs. And then he also showed me how to lead a sales team and how to be effective and generate revenue and numbers and the data side. He's the one that's really formed my sales side of my goals. And then Mike Abramson, who's our general manager, the aspect that I've learned from him is more of his leadership aspect. He's the type of leader that when I see him, he's the one that I would aspire to be, but also at the same time, people look up to him. He makes work fun. He makes coming to work a good time and side of sales and the Mike side of leadership, and then combining them to form my own identity as I go down the road of working in minor league baseball or wherever I may go in life. But taking those 2 who even though they're my superiors, we've become great friends. We've gone to multiple winter meetings together. We've gone to multiple happy hours. We've hung out in our off time. So I would say Dave Skirmahorn, but Mike Abramson and Josh Montanari shout out to them and where I am today and who I aspire to be as a professional in the sports industry.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Both are awesome guys. So
yeah,
I can echo Steve's thoughts on them. I mean, Mike specifically, like just watching him speak at winter meetings and whatnot, especially on diversity campaigns and different things, you know, I have to imagine that working with him on a daily basis is a great feeling and learning experience for everybody around him.
Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah, I mean, same to Steve, you know, in the sports industry, especially when it comes to moving around, you pick up different mentors in different places, different years. You know, two specifically that really stand out to me is one, Brian Radel, who, when I was with the Wilmington Blue Rocks, he was the director of sales. I was just a lowly community affairs assistant, trying to find my way in the industry. And I really saw the impact that sales can have on your career. And we all joke about it. It's like sales is the fastest way to get into any industry. And Brian was the director of sales, and I was always, you know, sticking my head in his office, like, hey, what deal did you close today? And all those things. And really tried to build my career around that. When I went back to West Virginia after that job, I realized like, hey, I need to get better at sales because that's what can progress me forward. So I actually became the sales manager of the DA. I just wanted to learn about how to do sales. I started as a sales associate. When I got back, shout out Nate McKee, one of my best buddies. I was just his best man at his wedding. But he was working as a sales associate, doing a business degree. And he was like, man, if that's what you want to do, he's like, I work at the DA. We do ad sales for the newspaper. Definitely an opportunity to do that. And I went in like guns blazing. I will never forget my first sale ever at the newspaper was an alpaca farm that used to advertise in our school paper that was like 20 minutes outside of school, that you could go and get mittens and hats and scarves. And I just was calling anybody that would listen to a WVU student, pick up the phone and ask them for advertising dollars. But, you know, Brian really instilled that in me, and full circle of it, you know, I always turned to him as a mentor, looked for, you know, advice in my career as I was looking to progress, whether it be, hey, I got this offer. Should I take this opportunity? Do you think this is right? And I'll never forget, I had an opportunity to work for a nonprofit and get out of sports. And he told me, I think that where you are in Trenton, just continue to cultivate your skills. Great things are going to come in the future. And he actually ended up becoming the GM of the Kannapolis Intimidators that year, and was the person that hired me and got me into the role that I'm currently in today. So it was just a really cool situation where, you know, he saw my potential in the future, grew his career, and I watched him grow it, and always aspired to do what he did. And then, you know, ultimately he was the person that hired me back after years apart, and let me progress. And then speaking of that community affairs role, Kevin Linton, that is my guy. He's the director of community affairs for the Wilmington Blue Rocks currently. And he was my manager. He was always a mentor when I was an intern with that team. Eventually hired me on as his assistant when everybody else thought that I was a junior senior as an intern. I was actually just a freshman, sophomore. And he took a chance on me anyway. He was like, hey, you got a bright future. I told him, like, I'd love to apply for a full-time role, even though I haven't graduated yet. Still hired me anyway. I'll never forget going to the first happy hour and people asked me if I wanted a beer, and I told them I was 20 years old. And they were all like, you've worked for us for 2 years. We thought you were 21 already. Haven't you graduated? And that's when a lot of people, the team, found out that I hadn't graduated. But no, him and I still communicate on a regular basis. I can't wait to drive home for the holidays and see him, grab some lunch at our favorite spots. But Kevin's leadership style, and this is where he really comes in as a mentor, he did so much to progress my career in the like industry as a whole, just because he taught me to be a manager. Like, he was just that person where he's like, hey, accomplish what you need to accomplish. And in your spare time, instead of finding ways to not work, like, work your butt off. And always supported every initiative that I ever wanted to do. So in community relations, you know, by August, a lot of people pack it in. And he just continued to push me to try to make a difference in the Wilmington community. And definitely for that, I thank him on a regular basis. You know, he's the person that hired me. It's so funny because the first winter meetings I ever went to lined up with the day he offered me my job. as the community affairs assistant for him. So like in my Facebook memories, every year pops up like a 5-year difference between the first time I got to go to winter meetings and the day I said on Facebook that I was dropping out of college. But he's just an awesome, awesome dude. And I'm really thankful for his continued mentorship in my career still today.
Damn, that's awesome. That sounds like some very good mentors that you guys both have, and definitely people that know what they're doing and want to help develop the best out there. So that's fantastic. I have one that I'm going off the rails here, Kevin, because we've talked about it before you joined, and I want to hear more about this. What are the winter meetings like? I know before we jumped on, you guys kind of discussed it a little bit, but what is it like for minor league teams? I would assume it's a little different.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was gonna cut you off to see if I could ask that same exact question. So yes, please,
I win.
Please, you mentioned the winter meetings. So yeah, like take us through that. Like, what is that like, guys working for minor league teams? And like, I can only imagine like how many people you interact with in that short time frame.
Yeah, it's a lot different. When you think of the winter meetings and they talk about baseball winter meetings, you think of all the players that are getting signed, all the deals that are being done. But the minor league baseball aspect in the winter meetings has nothing to do with that. Ours is mainly to interact and to get ideas from other teams, not only to benefit our organization, but maybe to give an idea to another organization that can help them in their promotions and their merchandise and their sales. And basically, it's a huge networking event. There's a ton of different breakout sessions from all those different areas where there's operations, there's sales, there's even groundskeeping down there. It's just a huge networking event of a different style that it helps me every time that we've gone to them, because I've taken back so many ideas from there, from other teams that we never would have thought to do in Hartford if it wasn't for all the other different ideas. And that's what minor league baseball is all about. It's about trying new things, finding what fits, and trying those at your own ballpark to bring to your fans in the community too.
Yeah, no, that's a great sentiment to it. I mean, winter meetings is just its own entity. It's got that like aura around it that you can't wait for that first moment to engage in it. It's something that when you're starting in your career, you see everybody that's on the leadership team leave for an entire week, and you're going to Orlando or Vegas or San Diego. You're like, man, I want to be part of that crew of people for our team that can experience that. And getting to do it and just seeing people like Steve specifically, like, you know, I hate that I didn't get to go to winter meetings this year and it's kind of shrunk a little bit, but seeing Steve and seeing other people that whether we went to college together, we were interns together and have progressed our career, it's definitely building that camaraderie back up amongst the people that you've worked with or the people that you admire and see in the industry. I will say, however, unlike Steve, I do enjoy the player aspect of it. Like when the Yankees signed Stanton, I was at that winter meetings. I was at a Yankees affiliate. You know, it was Aaron Boone's first year as the manager. So that was sweet. I definitely have a video somewhere out there on the internet of chugging a beer in the background of Major League Baseball Network's broadcast from winter meetings as at my first one, because, you know, why not? You're on TV.
That's amazing.
But you know, it's a cool environment to be at winter meetings. I unfortunately didn't go this year, but one of the best parts, and it's no longer part of it, was always the job fair. There's a lot of great people in our industry that, you know, took that chance to travel to winter meetings and pay to be a job seeker. One of the best people on my staff, we hired in San Diego right before the pandemic, and you know, our team wouldn't be where we are today without Walker. Just young kid, straight out of college. Merritt, I know that you watched West Virginia kick Oklahoma's butt. Walker, if you listen to this as an Oklahoma grad, I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of that football game.
All four of us did.
Yeah. But, you know, he just was an eager kid. He wanted to get out there. He wanted to meet people. He just expressed his interest in working in sports. And it's been probably one of the best hires I've ever made in my entire career, just because he's a grinder. You know, he looks to the bigger mission and he wants to see our team get better every day. And he puts in those sales calls and emails and everything that he needs to do to progress his career and us as an organization. So it's a really cool aspect. And I got on ESPN one time because RoFlo asked job seekers what the weirdest question they've ever been asked was. And one of the kids said, some random guy asked me what kind of tree I would be and why. And that is my go-to job interview question.
That's actually pretty epic. But so what I'm curious now, what kind of tree would you be?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I'd be an evergreen because no matter the conditions, I'm always at the top of my game.
Wow.
I like that.
He's practiced that. He's had that in the holster for quite some time.
Oh,
I think the best answer I've ever gotten is I was hiring for a community affairs assistant and a apple tree because she loves to provide for others.
Oh,
that's the best
that is
answer
a
I've
good
ever
one.
gotten in my career.
I like that.
And I was like, that's a move right there.
Man, I don't know. I like what was that big one? The great sequoias. Yeah, they're powerful and dominant. I'd be that.
That is the answer that I hear the
great sequoia.
Redwoods. If somebody tells me I would be a redwood because I'm tall, I'm like, you have zero creativity. I'm not hiring.
Maybe all right. If everybody says great sequoia, I don't know. Maybe like an American sycamore or something like that, where it's I'm an American and sycamore is fun to say. So yeah.
All right, Kevin, what kind of tree would you be?
Oh gosh, man, that's like, I'm really trying to like.
Do you know your trees?
Like Tom.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
You know
Strong
what?
in a hurricane, like
yeah.
You know what? You just mentioned it. I would be a palm tree because I like to think like I'm trying to be relaxed. I'm a relaxed person at times, and I can deal with the crazy. So like a hurricane, a palm tree still doing their thing when it's crazy. But like I'm really just meant to just be soothing to the mind and be calm. So that's I'll go with the palm tree.
I could see you being a palm tree.
Uh-oh.
I'm here. Stupid internet. I'm
just so happy that it's not happening.
I'm already looking upgrading my internet.
Happy.
I'm upgrading my internet tomorrow. I can't. This is so bad. So bad.
Guys,
right.
You have no idea when we first started recording this podcast, how many times Merritt would yell at me because my internet sucked and I always would log off in the middle of everything. And now it's going in reverse. Love you, Merritt. Just want to let you know that.
I give up. I'm done. Just whatever. This is what it is. All right. Kevin, you got any other questions? Do you want to read off another one or?
Well, you didn't tell us what tree you were.
I didn't. I'd be a mighty oak.
Okay. Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we talked about the winter meetings. So now we have. All right. So this one's first going to go to Steve. Steve, Hartford is always a good team. What is it like to work there?
It's fun. No, it is fun, but we've been very fortunate. When we moved from New Britain to Hartford, we didn't know how things were going to go. When we first announced the move from New Britain, it was all backlash. Everybody thought we're turning our backs on the city. We're going just right up the road. Why would we do that? But ever since getting to Hartford and us getting into the actual ballpark, there was a little bit of a hiccup in 2016 where we played on the road. But when we hit 2017 and on, it's been unreal, the response in both the community and in terms of from a way that Vince and I look at it from a revenue standpoint. Just a couple bullet points that I like to hit on when talking about our team. And this is our team as a whole that is putting this show on. This is from our front office. This is our ushers, our cleaning crew, our concession workers. It's without them, we wouldn't be able to hit these numbers. And a couple of the ones that I like to touch on are, so we're the number one sports team in Connecticut. We don't have much to rival. Maybe, as I mentioned to Merritt and Vince earlier, maybe UConn in terms of their basketball and football, which is getting slowly better. But we are the number one sports team in Connecticut in terms of revenue and fan attendance throughout the season. We average about 6,000 fans per game. We have 69 games throughout the season. So I think last year we got over 400,000 people into the ballpark in 2022 through the 69 games, which puts us towards the top of the Eastern League attendance. And in terms of all of minor league baseball, I have the right capacity in terms of the size of our stadium. So some people think, yeah, there's a AAA team, they're killing it, they can get more people in the seats. But in terms of getting people into the ballpark with our capacity, we have the highest percent attendance based on that number. And it wouldn't be without the community and our community base that we could do that. I go around to different sporting events. I'm out in the community and I'm out just getting groceries and I see Yard Goats apparel everywhere. Our marketing is fantastic. Mike Abramson heads up our marketing throughout the year. What he does is unreal. The way that he uses his humor to market to the community is uncanny. I mean, there's one when the Portland Sea Dogs come into town, there's a billboard that says "Socks in the City." People read that, think it's hysterical. He's got other ones where it's a clipping on a billboard. It says, "Cut this out for beer at Yard Goats game." One of the best ones that he's done is a billboard. It is a static billboard, so it doesn't change. It says, "This billboard changes daily," but with it being a static billboard, it does not change daily. And I catch myself looking at that every time. And I've been with people in the car that have said, that sign is still there. I thought it changes daily. So the marketing that we have, the fan base that we have, the merchandise, the apparel, just everything that we're doing right now, we're rolling in all cylinders, and it's a really fun time to be a part of it. And usually after 4, 5, 6 years, you start to see maybe a little decline because that shiny new ballpark aspect starts to wear off, but we've only seen it going up, and we don't see it slowing down anytime soon. So if you're not on the Yard Goats train yet, better get on, or you better get off the tracks, because we're coming in, baby.
I love it.
I'm 100% on that track. That is a fun team for sure.
Yeah, I'll get your addresses after this. I'll send you all some apparel, and you guys can wear it on one of your podcasts coming up.
Oh,
and Vince, you can wear it at your new ballpark and show everybody how cool our logo and our merchandise is.
I'll send you ours too.
Deal.
I'm all about it. I'm all about supporting my friends out here. So
same here.
Send it. Me and Merritt are going to wear it. Vince, we have a separate question for you as well. And I have another one to add to go off the rails again, Merritt, if you don't mind, but I think it'll be a fun one. Vince, so, you had a new part, you got a new team. Like, what's the feeling of watching something come from like the ground up? You've literally watched, you mentioned you got a new stadium. Like, what's it like to like, how's that feeling when you see like, man, we just watched this like be built and now we're a stadium. Now we're going to be a team that's playing in here.
Yeah. I mean, it's been the coolest experience that I've ever had in sports. I tell people all the time, I remember flying to Kannapolis when they were trying to convince me to take the job, standing in downtown. There was no businesses on the street. The day I got there was the day they started the infrastructure for the downtown businesses. So they were tearing Main Street up, new plumbing, new electrical, new everything. In the stadium where it stands today, it was a pile of dirt, and everybody just kept telling me to have vision. And I was like, visualize what? Like, there's nothing here. But after talking to people with the city, talking to different community leaders, everybody was just so excited to see the town come back to life. They took us to Cabarrus Brewing Company, the best beer in town, and then took me to Smoke Pit, the best barbecue in North Carolina. And I was like, yeah, I could live here. I could do this. So I had that vision, but no, it's such a cool thing. Just the economic development aspect behind our ballpark, the city really saw it as a vision factor. They billed us as the sports and entertainment venue. That's what they were pitching as they were, putting the ballpark into play. And it's a cool factor now that the ballpark exists. We've more than doubled attendance from the old stadium that we were at prior. This year, our goal is to more than triple attendance that we had in 2019. before the new stadium opened. And our ballpark is actually open as a public park 363 days a year. So we have over $1 million playground and splash pad inside of the stadium that kids can come to. So if you come into our ballpark at noon on a Tuesday in July, there's like 100 kids climbing on the playground. It's a 3-story ropes course. Kids running around on the pad, which gives just an actual increase in exposure to our sponsors, which they love. We did 45 Christmas parties last year between Thanksgiving and Christmas in our luxury space. So we truly do try to cultivate, just additional foot traffic for our community so that people that haven't come to Kannapolis in a long time use the ballpark as kind of that reason to come. They come downtown, they see all the awesome boutiques, the new brewery that's in town. We're currently in the process of building a 7-story apartment complex in the outfield that'll house our team headquarters, a brand new brewery and barbecue restaurant that the team will be a part owner of, and our team store and ticket office. It's awesome to see a community come back to life. I kind of mentioned it earlier. Kannapolis used to be home to Cannon Mills, which was the largest textile producer in the world. Unfortunately, became home to the largest layoff in a single day in North Carolina history, where 4,400 people lost their jobs when that mill closed. And it sent the community into its own Great Depression. And just to be a part of it and take pride in seeing that community come back to life, all the rebirth that we've had. If you turn on ESPN2 on Christmas Day, you will see our ballpark host the American Kennel Club Dog National Frisbee event. And it's been the coolest thing. Like, we hosted the fastest dog in America on the ballpark field. We've hosted Corey LaJoie, who's a NASCAR driver, his celebrity kickball event where NASCAR broadcast it live and it was on every major network. But I'm getting ready to visit my parents in New Jersey, and to know that I could turn the TV on, flick on ESPN2 at 3:00 and watch our ballpark be highlighted on a national stage hosting, of all things, on a baseball field, dogs catch Frisbees. It's just a cool factor to bring, that amount of visibility back to a market that hasn't had it for a long time. So that's definitely the pride and joy.
All right, I have a quick question, Vince. How many times have you played on the playground and played in the splash pad? Be honest.
Once.
Oh, see? There you go.
And I went down the slide and broke my leg. I'm one of 2 incidents on the playground.
That's why he went once. No, yeah. No, but Vince brings up a couple awesome points there in terms of just minor league baseball, how we are more than just baseball. Like Vince, we actually hosted somewhere with the ESPN with the dog show. So it's amazing the things that you can do with a ballpark. Because a lot of people just think, oh, you're done after the baseball season. Well, a lot of our revenue is actually generated through non-game day events. When the ballpark's not in use for baseball, it's being used for walks. It's being used for fundraisers, Christmas parties, as Vince's ballpark's being used right now. Basically every night there's a Christmas party. There was one during the day while I was at work. I was listening to Mariah Carey out in our club while I was trying to make some sales today. So it really is just bringing the community together in all different aspects, being more than just a baseball team. And to touch on more thing that Evan said, watching a team come from the ground up like he's done, and then like we did in Hartford, where we were trying to make our own identity. Everybody saw us as the Rockets, from being part of something that just came from the ground up. Whether Vince and I are with our respective teams years down the road, we'll still know that in the back of our minds that we had something to do with building that ballpark and that team and that organization within the community up from nothing.
Yeah, and I know Steve knows it because, everybody was like, what's a yard goat? And they've built such an awesome brand. But when we announced our name, our name, like, the old name, the Intimidators, aspired from Dale Earnhardt Sr. because Kannapolis is his hometown. And it was such a name that so many people took pride in, and it was a hard transition to go through. But, we've transitioned to Cannon Ballers. I mentioned Cannon Mills was the driver of our community, which obviously was where the Cannon and Cannon Ballers comes from. Our color scheme is the North Carolina state flag. Our mascot has an integrated star, just like the flag does. There's so many things that go into that, and our community has shown so much pride. When I first started in Kannapolis, I barely ever saw our brand out in the community. And now I remember, my wife can tell you that we would walk through our community and somebody would be walking their dog wearing a Cannon Baller shirt, and I just would light up. I'd be like, oh man, people bought Cannon Ballers gear, even to the point that in 2020, it was a tough year, but we sold more hats than any other minor league baseball team, and we had the #1 selling hat in all of minor league baseball. And it was such a cool turnaround to see, hey, it's not just Kannapolis, it's not just our community that are really resonating with the brand, it's the entire country. It only took us, what's crazy is we sold in 72 hours after changing the name of the team the same amount of merchandise we sold the entire season prior.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it only
That's
took a game and a
crazy.
half when we finally opened to the stadium to sell the same amount again. So it's like, it's just been such a cool turnaround. I mean, people wear Cannon Ballers gear everywhere. People have that pride and like namesake in it. I love it. I love everywhere I go. When I see a Cannon Ballers hat somewhere, it, like Steve said, it's like when you build a brand from the ground up, not just a baseball stadium, but the brand itself. You take so much pride in being like, hey, like, we talked about the mustache changing from a curly mustache to a flat mustache, and his face not having his tongue out to being a smile or not being there at all. It's just all those little intricate details that you see and you take pride in that make minor league baseball so great. Because when was the last time that you remember seeing like a major brand switch other than like the Arizona Diamondbacks? I'm trying to think of like a different brand in Major League Baseball that's changed in the past 20 years. Maybe Tampa Bay, but minor league baseball means so much to its community that a lot of people take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, and going through minor league teams, you see the big thing with minor league baseball. Everybody talks about how kooky and how crazy the team names are, but if you actually dig into each of the names of all those minor league teams, there is community roots to it, and there's a reason behind each of those names. It's just funny because you see all those outrageous logos, but there is really meaning behind it. And as Vince said, the communities just take great pride in what they have, because a lot of these are small. They could potentially be smaller communities that don't have a lot to brag about or to have pride in. So it's what they identify themselves as, and that's why Vince and I are here and giving them that joy, and that's something to root for too.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Love it. So you guys talked about like merchandising and branding. Your logos, in my opinion, are probably two of the coolest ones out of minor league baseball. So I wanted to know, since your time with each of your teams, which like logo or like brand thing that you guys have created is one of your favorites. So like Steve, like I see on the website now, you guys had a shirt that said "Want fries with that," and then you have like a Los Chivos logo, and then Vince, like I see your one where your Cannonballer, instead of him being like straight, he has like a superhero one. So I was curious which one is like one of your favorites that you guys have had.
Yeah, so going along with those, so the fries one, we play every year, one game or two games as the Hartford steamed cheeseburgers, because the steamed cheeseburger is something here in Connecticut that we like to brag about and promote. So Vince, do you guys have any sort of food team logo yet, or do you still working on something like that?
May 5th, 2023.
There you go.
Oh, we just dropped. We just got some knowledge dropped.
Yep, little soft plug. See, so you see, we're even helping each other out even across these screens here. No, so that's that one. The Los Chivos is part of the Copa initiative that minor league baseball has. I love that logo, mainly because I love the baby blue color. So what we use that for, and how we utilize it, that sells really well. But it also is great for the community and the different aspects and the heritage that it brings with it. My favorite thing we do, I mean, our logo, I don't know if you can see it here, but it's on this side. So it's a goat head with a baseball bat through it. That baseball bat, we can change and put different items. So like for Star Wars night, we've put a lightsaber.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yep. So now that it's Christmas time, we put a candy cane.
That's awesome.
What else have we've put in a cowboy hat on the goat. It's just an awesome logo that I can't pick a favorite one, because I would say my favorite one is the next thing that we come out with. That's the best way
Tom
to
Brady.
describe it.
I just thought of that too, Vince.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such our logo and what we can do with it, and the response that we get through our merchandise. There's so much options that I think the ideas are endless, and it's gonna be cool to see what we can do with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, to echo Steve's point, like just the value that you have on building your own brand and making those changes. Like when we went through 2020, it was one of the hardest years that we've ever had. Shout out to Myrtle Beach for doing the t-shirt in Durham. Myrtle Beach was unflocking believable because they're the Pelicans. Durham being the Durham Bulls, they did a t-shirt that said, "This is some real bullshit." And
I remember that was awesome.
That was, I remember seeing that one.
Yeah, and we were a brand new brand, and I was like, you know what? Like, this is, to be completely honest, it's completely a money grab. It's like, hey, we're trying not to lay staff off. We're trying to do everything we can to still stay relevant in the community. We don't have seasons this year. And I was like, Cannon Ballers, I was like, let's do a t-shirt that says 2020, a real kick to the Ballers. And I remember it was a fight with our staff. Like, do we do it? Do we not? We haven't ever played a baseball game with this brand yet. Like, do we do something like that? And we ended up producing that t-shirt and sold out in like 72 hours, to the point where like we didn't reproduce it, and we were like, we're going to do this again at Christmas with a long sleeve. And within the first day of re-releasing the t-shirt, because there was so much demand, we sold out of 2020. This is a real kick to the Ballers. It's just different things like that. You have that flexibility to do. Personally, this logo is my favorite, the roundel, with the boomer flying through the sky. You always have your primary and your roundel and your alternative logos that you can do different iterations of, but I like this bad boy, just like the clean look of it. I mean, I'm excited for future things to come. Like I said, Jiggy with the Piggy Festival, one of the largest. Well, they did it last year. I hate it. We're excited to line our games up with that, shoot fireworks, the concerts that it brings downtown, and maybe something cool's coming. But I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, no, it's awesome to be able to build a brand around your local community.
Love that.
Awesome. All right. Since we've been doing this for 2 hours, I'm going to ask.
Do you want the next question, sir?
Yeah, I want to ask the last one here. I think we've already got the advice for college kids or anyone looking for a potential job in this, but what's the most memorable part or your favorite part of your job so far, being in your seats now or when you started?
Vince, you want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, man. I mean, most memorable nights of my career have been working with the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. We've talked about making a difference in our community, just the impact that you can have being a part of it. I've shaved my head 4 times now, raised a ton of money for that. We do Starry Night now at the Cannon Ballers, which is another pillar of fun. I talked about Kevin Linton being my mentor and really aspiring to pushing everything that I wanted to do. And one of the things was the guy that founded, Chase Jones, who founded the Versus Cancer Foundation, who's like a former UNC baseball player, got stage 4 brain cancer. His team rallied around him. They shaved his head. And he just sent emails to all the community relations people in minor league baseball. And I was like, this is such a cool initiative. I'm on my plate. I think that's could be so cool. And we were able to raise $20,000 for that foundation. And the team shaved their head. Still remember, like, the most memorable manager I've ever had is Vance Wilson, because he really rallied and pushed the players to participate in that. He shaved his head. He's a former catcher for the Detroit Tigers. And every year after that, I always push that as my mission, that was one nonprofit organization. He's my friend. I was like, hey, we have to bring this back. This is such a cool thing. It just builds so much camaraderie amongst your staff. Like when you're sitting there shoulder to shoulder with somebody while they're getting their head shaved to raise money for, a nonprofit organization, and watching people in your community, inviting kids out at that, from the children's hospital. There's nothing better about our jobs than the impact that we can have on local families and people in the community.
Yeah. And kind of to touch what Vince had talked about there in terms of the family and the communities, in terms of my most memorable moments of working in baseball. I have one side that's like professional, and then I have another side that's more of a personal side. In terms of professional, like Vince, something that is huge for the families and huge for the community. So we have a few nights in April. We had 2 last year. We're having 3 this year. It's called our Most Improved. This is where we send out a letter to all the schools to nominate students as their most improved. And the meaning behind this program is that it may not be the student that improves most in the classroom in terms of grades, but someone that not necessarily be recognized by the faculty and the school in general. It's awesome to see these kids get out there, their families come out, the kids get a free ticket to the game. The amount of family members that come to support these kids as they're on field and their faces are on the big screen and they're waving is unreal. The fact that we've had to go from 2 to 3 and potentially 4 in the future just shows these kids that don't get recognized, because most times in school you're getting recognized for grades. These kids are finally getting recognized in front of all the fans. They get to go on the field, they get to interact with the players, and then it shows the kids how much support their families give them by all their families coming out, taking pictures. It's just an awesome experience and something cool to see year in and year out. In terms of personally, my favorite experience is just growing the relationships within people that I've worked with. I've gone on going into a team that I knew nobody. It's turned into lifelong friendships that I've made through them. I've been a best man in one of my coworkers' weddings. That's now a friend. I have more friends than coworkers with the people that I work with now. So making those friendships and those relationships along the way has been awesome to watch, as well as not only with people I work with, but also clients. I have a number of client relationships that I've made that I may or may not have been able to play a couple PGA golf courses because I've made such great relationships with them that I'll take moving forward with me. But it's those personal relationships that's also huge and memorable to me, along with meeting Stanley from The Office, because I'm a huge Office fan. But I wanted to add that one in on the end. So he's a really cool dude.
That's awesome.
That's all I got. That's all. That's it. You got something, Kevin?
No, I was waiting for you because you were talking and I was interrupting you.
No, my internet is lagging completely tonight, so I'm just going to walk outside and freeze and become an ice cube at this point. This is pathetic. God damn. No, that's all.
Fun times. So, I mean, did we get Vince? Did we get your answer to this question? We did, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, so cool. We're out here.
Oh God, no, we're not.
All
We're not
right,
doing that.
Merritt, I don't have anything else. What?
I was talking about how you said we out here. Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to the technical difficulties today. It happens. But thank you guys for coming on. This was and time with it. Merritt, should I just outro us out?
Yeah, let's get us
that
out
This is
of here.
actually a really
perfect
great.
for
This
it.
is a great photo. Merritt. So before I outro us, if you said to outro us, your frozen spot was just like this, and you're just looking up to the ceiling.
Just have your editing guy just cut it right there.
Yeah.
And a quick zoom in on that face, and that's how it ends.
Yes, Andrew, when you listen to this,
You know where
shout out
cut
to
it.
you.
Yeah.
All right. So outro time. So again, Steve, Vince, thank you guys for coming on. Do you have any of your Instagram handles that you would like to shout it out now if you want?
Yeah. No, thank you guys for having us on. It's good to see you again. I know that we've been talking about doing this podcast for a while, Merritt, so I'm glad we were able to finally do it. But yep, so Instagram is just at Steve Meck, and that's Meck with 2 Ks. Go ahead, give me a follow. I'll follow you back. Yeah, go Yard Goats.
Instagram and so happy to follow you. It was a pleasure jumping on with you guys. Always great to catch up, talk minor league baseball in West Virginia. Fire Neil Brown.
Love it. All right.
Always a pleasure, boys.
Yes. So I will go ahead and outro us out. So for those that are listening, please continue to listen to us. We're available on all of your streaming platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We are on Google Play. We are on Amazon. Continue to watch us and watch all the technical difficulties we had on our YouTube page at the MiLB Musings Podcast. Make sure you follow Merritt at his Instagram at Merritt_P. Follow me at KQuava624. Also follow along with our podcast Instagram, which is the MiLB Musings Pod. This was a lot of fun. Thank you guys again. And for those listening, good night. Happy Wednesday.